So, this is my presentation on the Youth Sport Trust. What I'm going to be doing in this presentation is I'm going to be talking to you about who they are, what they do, the sort of initiatives they've got, and then my experiences I've had with the organisation. So, before we get into it, I just sort of want to go into a bit of detail about what sport development actually is and sort of what it means to me, and then like an actual dictionary definition. So, to me, sports development is the development of either a single sport or many sports in areas that have low participation rates. The aim of sports development for me is to increase participation of young people in sport and then to have them carry on participating like after a grassroots level as they get older. So starting them off at grassroots, but then having them progress on to maybe just playing sports recreationally, or if not necessarily being involved in sports from the practical aspect of it, maybe something from a coaching aspect or even an officiating aspect. But to me, the whole idea of sport development is to make something that's sustainable, but then to also give people a chance to participate in a particular sport that they may not have had the chance to participate in before. Or, just giving people a chance to try out a sport and see how they are. Now, sportsdevelopment.org say, sports and development refers to the use of sports as a tool for development and peace. So, sort of similar to what I perceive sports development to be. Again, the whole aspect of development is to start something off and then progress it on. So instead of just having one initiative and just keeping it there as that initiative, the whole idea of the sport development is to then develop that initiative on to keep it going. So, and to me personally, I think the Youth Sport Trust have done that very well. With some of the camps that they've got, with some of the camps that they've done, I feel as though their initiatives have gone on and progressed much further than what they could have possibly ever imagined. So now I'll actually get on to who the Youth Sport Trust actually are. They're a charity that has now been running for 21 years with the aims of increasing participation in sports and creating a brighter future for young people around the country. They've got members on their team such as Hannah Cockcroft, MBE, Kimberly Wyatt, formerly the Pussycat Dolls. They've got Gail Ems, Jason Gardner, Victoria Pendleton, and that's just naming a few. Now, the Youth Sport Trust is a well-renowned charity across the country. A lot of people do know about them, and I think with having such high-profile members, such as your Olympic gold medalists, your ex-international pop stars, it shows how much support they actually have. I know Kimberly Wyatt, she was recently on a TV programme, and any money she made, she was donating to the Youth Sport Trust. Now, having people such as these with the high profiles that they have, it's such a good platform for the Youth Sport Trust, but then sport development in general, because they can, in effect, use their knowing and they can use their sort of reputation to then really help support and progress a lot of sport development across the country. And if, for example, Kimberly Wyatt, again, coming back to her recently, she was in schools doing dance classes. Now, to some people, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for someone who has either a passion for dancing or who even just like the Pussycat Dolls, having something like that can stick with them for a very long time, and it could potentially make them want to take up dancing again. It's aiding the development and trying to keep people involved at a young age, to then, as they go on and progress through school and everything, they still remain involved in sport. So what do the Youth Sport Trust actually do? So they host a number of camps across the year for many different initiatives. Just to name some, there's Girls Active, National Talent Camp and Inclusive Futures. Now, as well as these camps, they also have representatives going around the schools across the country to try and inspire children from a young age to engage in sports more outside of school. Now, the Youth Sport Trust website, it actually says they want to build the foundations of movement within children, equipping them with the confidence, competence and enjoyment of sport needed for a lifetime of activity and good physical and emotional health. Sport has so many benefits to everyone who takes part. It can be used to make you feel fitter, make you use it as stress relief. If you're upset, you can go play sport. Literally, sport is such a powerful tool that some people don't even realise sometimes. So having someone such as a youth sport trust who just want to ensure that participation is key for everyone, because they know how good the benefits are of it. It's really, really promising. So unfortunately, at the recording of this, Inclusive Futures has now been stopped. Inclusive Futures, from my knowledge, was ran for about 2 to 3 years, and then unfortunately funding's been cut for it. To me, I'm quite gutted, because Inclusive Futures was one of the very first Youth Sport Trust camps that I went on, and I went there as like a participant. And through that, it sort of gave me a passion for disability sport, and it made me want to volunteer more and get involved a lot more. But we'll still touch upon it anyway. So they've got 4 main national priorities at the Youth Sport Trust. Again, Inclusive Futures, Girls Active, they've got the Sainsbury's School Games, and then National Talent Camp. So I'll tell you a bit about Inclusive Futures. It's a camp that's run over 3 days. It's a camp that's run over 3 days, as to where both able and disabled people will take part in a range of workshops and practical activities to show them how easy it is to make a game inclusive for everyone, and how to approach certain situations that may come about during a session. The Youth Sport Trust get team leaders to volunteer at the camp to look after a group of the volunteers for the weekend. So the whole point of Inclusive Futures is they want to show people, but again, both able and disabled, how easy it is to make their sessions inclusive for everyone. So the aim is participation. So in a way, no one gets left behind, no one gets left out. You're not going to have 1 or 2 people feel like they can't be involved because they can't do it, or they can't play, or they feel because they have a disability they can't do it, or the game isn't inclusive. The whole point of Inclusive Futures and their workshops was to put people in situations as to where you've got, so for example, like, right, you've got 2 people here that aren't being involved because the session is football, but you don't have football wheelchairs. They forgot their wheelchair football modifier. What do? The aim is you can't leave that child out. So what Inclusive Futures does is they try and give you different ideas as to how you can either adapt the game for those 2 players while still making it fun for everyone, or it gives you more ideas as to how you can get that person involved. So that person in a wheelchair could potentially take up a coaching role for that sport, for that session, or that person could be an officiator and help you. That's what Inclusive Futures does. And I think Inclusive Futures was a really good initiative, and I am actually really gutted that it's now gone. So there's Girls Active as well. Now this is a camp that runs towards the end of March, as to where girls from across the country take part in a series of workshops with national faculty staff and team leaders to try and inspire them to create an idea and take it back to their schools, and then implement to increase participation in girls' sport from when they come into Year 7 until they leave. A change that has been made to the camp this year is that girls have now been given a budget of £200 to really try and push their ideas back into schools. Statistics show that after taking part in one of the Youth Sport Trust national camps that targeted girls, 75% of the girls that attended had increased their confidence in leading and influencing their peers and other young people. Now that, to me, that statistic is incredible. The fact that 75% of the girls that came to the camp now feel more confident about leading their peers is incredible. I think the past 2 years that Girls Active was done, funding wasn't given because the Youth Sport Trust didn't have the funds for it. And when I ran the camp last year, some of the girls were saying it's pointless, there's no point in us doing this because our school doesn't have the money and they won't do it. So the fact that they now get given £200 to try and actually do something and make a change is incredible. Again, Girls Active is run with a lot of workshops, and it is very workshop based, but the aim of these workshops is to give them the tools and to really get them thinking about what they can do to make a difference in their school. Now, Girls Active is done for girls in Year 10 and 11 who either have brilliant leadership skills already, or they are sent there by their teachers because they feel as though they have the potential to be good leaders. It may just take some time to unlock all their true capabilities. And I think what's good is the fact that the girls are chosen. It means that the teachers are handpicking ones that they feel can have the most influence in the school. And from what I've heard, from what we heard at the camp just gone, one of the initiatives has actually gone really well. And one of the girls from the school set up a massive round as a charity tournament, as to where girls from all the years were involved and everything, and that's going really well. So now I'll move on to the Sainsbury's School Games, and although that's hosted by Sainsbury's, the school sports games are heavily supported by the eSport Trust. School Games is where the nation's athletes come and represent their country in the specific sports range from judo to rugby sevens, there's football, there's swimming, there's a massive range of it. It's sort of like a mini Olympics in a way. It's like a mini Olympics in a way. Again, although it's hosted by Sainsbury's and funded by Sainsbury's, the Youth Sport Trust has a massive implementation into this, because the Youth Sport Trust supply us as team leaders to help out volunteer with the running of the games, but then also the Youth Sport Trust use all their school knowledge and all their links with the schools to try and gain as many volunteers as possible, because it's a massive event and it takes a lot of volunteers to make the event run smoothly, whether that be adjudicators, timekeepers, whether it be scorekeepers. It's insane. So the amount of volunteers that the Youth Sport Trust can supply is incredible. And now we go on to the National Talent Camp. Now this is a camp that gets coaches, athletes and officials together to take part in workshops and practicals to try and find out how they best excel in their role in their particular sport. So the aim of Talent Camp is to inspire participants to keep going in their sports and to try and get them to inspire others back at their clubs. So, for example, we put coaches, athletes and officials together in a group, and then we adapt workshops to try and make them think from a different perspective. So from a coaching perspective, for example, we could say that a player is given, or we could say that the coach is giving a referee, an official, some grief. So what we'd say is we'd then ask that coach, if you were a referee, if you were an official, how would you feel? What would you do? If you were a player, how would you feel about your coach going in and like that and the referee? So what we try and do is we try and put a spin on it to make them think twice about how they do stuff. But then also we do it to try and inspire them even more to keep on going in their role and to keep being an ambassador for their sport. So I'm going to talk to you about my experience with the Youth Sport Trust now. And I have to admit, it's one that I'll always look back on with so many fond memories. So I always did a lot of volunteering off my own back when I got to college, but I was never part of like a national initiative. So like there's a talent gateway and stuff like that. I was never a part of that because it was never sort of on offer. So I started off my volunteering with a lot for Sport Birmingham. Again, this was through college and in my own time. And then it was at the School Games in 2014. And Emily Reynolds of the Youth Sport Trust, she recognised my name on a sheet of paper for signing out. And she was like, oh yeah, so you're Harry Chandler. And I was sort of like, yeah. And she goes, oh, don't worry about it, you've done nothing wrong, but I've heard really good things about you at a lot of events now, and I feel like you're going to be great for this role that we've got coming up at the Youth Sport Trust. And yeah, so that happened. I applied for the team leader, I had my interview, and I found out that I got it. So basically the role of a team leader is we help run the camps. So I've been at Girls Active, National Talent Camp, the School Sports Games, twice with the Youth Sport Trust and about 3 times off my own back, and also Inclusive Futures. So in those camps I'm required to look after a group of volunteers, I'm required to do workshops, I'm required to do reports after. Basically I'm just sort of helping in the running of the camp, and my experience from it is the Youth Sport Trust, the Youth Sport Trust have given me direction in where I want to go with my potential career. Coming to uni, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to specifically do, like sort of after uni, whereas now I feel like the Youth Sport Trust have being a team leader and being on that experience and meeting the people I have, I feel like I want to do something to do with sport development, because with with the feedback I've got from the people who work there, but then also the impact that I've been told I've had by volunteers, I think it's incredible. And I think, to me, that's such a good career to go to, because I want to make an impact and I want to make a name for myself and make myself known. And I couldn't have done that without the Youth Sport Trust at all. And the experience I've had, don't get me wrong, the camps, it's long weekends, it's long days, early mornings, late nights. I won't be going to bed till 1, but I could be up at 5 because I have to get my volunteers up for 5:30, 6 o'clock. And a lot of people ask me why I volunteer and, you know, what makes me do it. Like, I'm not getting paid for it, but a lot of people ask me why. And in a way, I can't explain it, because it's just something that I feel like I've always naturally done and been drawn to. But until people experience something like I have with the Youth Sport Trust, with the Team Leader Programme, with the camps that I've done, and with the people I've met, it's really hard to describe why I volunteer. But I wouldn't change any of it for the world, and I will always be extremely grateful to the Youth Sport Trust. Sadly, my time as a team leader has now finished. The Team Leader Programme's only 2 years. So, unfortunately, my journey is now over, but hopefully I can make an impact in sport development, and hopefully I can come into contact with the Youth Sport Trust again, whether that be with actually them as a job or through a different organisation, hopefully at one of their camps. So to conclude, the Youth Sport Trust is it's a massive charity, and it plays a massive part in a lot of people's lives. It has done in mine, and it has done in an awful lot of other people's. I think the Youth Sport Trust, how they go about things, the camps they do, are absolutely phenomenal, and I'd recommend being a team leader to anyone. Thank you for watching, and yeah, that's the end.